cross and the empty tomb. One more often misappropriated, and the other most often ignored, but once a year. Let me say that again. The cross and the empty tomb. One more often misappropriated, and the other most often ignored, but for once a year. And dare I expose the exaggerated role that the cross has played in Western Christianity? Dare I expose this reality as I have with Christmas, so I will with the cross. I will do this at the expense of a potentially equally powerful symbol, and that of the empty tomb. Many of you have been raised in mainline churches, especially. Remember the 14 stations of the cross. Do you remember that? And yet, how many stations of the empty tomb are there? How many stained glass windows or well-known paintings can we recall depicting the empty tomb? When shopping anywhere for jewelry, how many necklaces of the empty tomb are available for purchase versus the cross? Ironically, in contrast to Western Christianity, you might be surprised at this, how Eastern Christianity, both Russian, Byzantine, considers the risen Christ to be one of the most revered icons. Consider further its appearance, the cross. No matter how you draw it, it remains linear. How easily and how often it has been turned on its side to be a sword. Crusades, inquisitions, witch burnings, which invariably meant the burning of old women, Jew burnings and pogroms, the burnings of heretics, of fellow Christians, and of infidels, all in the name of the cross. The cross to the Jewish people is an offense. From the pogroms to the Holocaust, more Jews have been slaughtered in the presence of the cross than any other symbol. Unless they are sharing a church, most Messianic congregations will not display a cross. It is almost as if Constantine, upon his and his empire's conversion to Christianity in the 4th century, uttered a well-fulfilled prophecy when he declared, "In the name of the cross, we shall conquer." Brothers and sisters, the cross has played the role of a weapon time and time again in Christian history and empire building. Thomas Merton observed that when Christianity became the religion of the empire, and I quote, "the supreme sacrifice was to die fighting under the Christian emperor. The supreme self-immolation was to fall in battle under the standard of the cross. But by the time Christianity was to meet Asia and the New World, the cross and the sword were so identified with one another that the sword itself was a cross. It was the only kind of cross some conquistadors understood." And it's no accident, brothers and sisters, it is no accident that in the new Star Wars, The Force Awakens, the evil Kylo Ren is sporting what? A lightsaber in the shape of a cross, which he uses to murder his own father. How many of you former Catholics, recall this following marching song from the Catholic Action Days? An army of youth flying the standards of truth. We're fighting for Christ the Lord, heads lifted high, Catholic action our cry, and the cross our only sword. What symbol, think about it, what symbol can you think of that is more recognizable than the cross? In contrast, the most repressed Christian symbol is what? The empty tomb. Think about it. Think about the tomb. In reality, the tomb is a womb. It is a womb. The primary womb from which the Messiah Yeshua is reborn, from which he declared, I shall make all things new. The empty tomb is, after all, the last and first word of Messianic or Christian belief. Whereas the cross was an invention of the Roman Empire, who nailed and hung Yeshua naked upon it, it's interesting that the empty tomb is the product of divine imagination. Man's imagination or invention, God's imagination. And what have we chosen? Don't you think it's strange how Christianity has invested so much more energy into the cross at the expense of the empty tomb? Did that ever cross your mind? Perhaps on this Yom HaBikkurim resurrection celebration, we would do well to explore a bit this neglected treasure, beginning with this first observation of the empty tomb. If you think about the tomb, how it's been depicted, now none of us, of course, were there, but there are examples that exist, archaeological things that show that typically a tomb is round inside. Round or circular in shape. And that Yeshua's tomb was carved into a cave. So this morning, in sort of a dual holy day mode that we are in, because Yom HaBikkurim and the continued observance of Chag HaMatzot, where we avoid the partaking of risen bread, you may be interested in knowing that resurrection does not mean rising up. Does not mean that. Think about it, just from a common sense standpoint, which is vacant in much of Christianity today. Yeshua had risen up in the cave, what would have happened? It bumped his head. No, resurrection literally means exit. It means exiting, going out, leaving death and its shrouds behind. It's a departure. It's an empty tomb into which many of the day entered, but only one in history ever left. Only one left the tomb. Was in the tomb. The circle has been broken by Messiah. His exit from death transformed the closed circle of the tomb into an open circle, not unlike a spiral. It's interesting. Those of you who have been in the medical profession or good at science, that DNA, the basic ingredient of all life, is understood or viewed to be two ribbons in spiral motion. A double spiral becomes then the basic symbol of all organic living. How appropriate that all spiritual living should possess the identical symbol, since the creator of physical life is identical to the creator of spiritual life. The enclosed tomb intended for death is opened and is transformed by the power of the Ruach HaKodesh into a womb of rebirth, of resurrection. It has delivered the dead into life. To in conclusion, to emphasize the need for the empty tomb as a primary messianic symbol is not to be misinterpreted or suggested that the cross should be negated. In fact, the tomb presumes a cross. What we must remember on this Yom HaBikkurim is that the cross is just as empty as the tomb. What we must remember is that Messiah Yeshua is now glorified and has completed his work. The one-sided role that the cross has played for so long must be let go of in order to re-emerge in its fuller meaning as a tomb/cross. The truth is, we cannot be truly cross-centered without also being empty grave-centered. At the cross, what do we learn? We learn humility, our hopeful sinlessness, our sinfulness, and our need of God. And at the empty tomb, we fully appreciate what Messiah has achieved for us and receive power to live for him. To do so, our lives, brothers and sisters, our lives must make the same journey that Yeshua did from the cross to the tomb, dying to our sinfulness and then being rebirthed into new life and into a new purpose of existence. Remember this. Remember this clearly. The cross, remember the cross. Don't ever forget it. But celebrate. Celebrate the empty tomb. Be transformed from a symbol of death unto a symbol of life.